Welcome back to A Better Choice Homestead. My name is Kelly and I am on my deck putting together some green stalks today. I have 4 to put together. I've already done one on another video. That was the leaf version and I was putting transplants in those. In these green stalks, I'm going to be doing direct sown seeds and it is time to get some of those going. So I have to get these built. Even though it is only 40 degrees Fahrenheit today, it's been raining all day. It just let up, so we're going to get this done. I'm going to do most, if not all of this on a time lapse because this is going to take at least an hour to put these green stalks together. But while it's on time lapse, I'll talk you through it at the same time. So let's get green stalking. The first thing I'm doing here is getting my container and dumping one of the tiers into it. I've added a base to the ground and put that first tier on it. And now I need to add the amendments. This soil has been in the green stock for a few years now, and it needs some more than just a top layer of nutrition added. So I'm dumping 1 tier at a time into my 27-gallon container, and then I am adding some perlite to aerate the soil, and I am also adding some composted cow manure. That's going to be the nutrition that's going to be in these, and it's going to add some long-lasting nutrition. I am not going to have to add fertilizer to these green stalks each and every week as I would if I was just topping them with a little bit of compost. I'm also adding some peat moss in here as well. The peat moss is going to help it retain moisture. These green stalks get quite compacted. They don't hold a ton of soil, and it does compact as the plants get bigger and as it gets watered. So the peat moss is going to help just keep it hydrated. So when I'm done with 1 tier, I put another tier up, and I am just repeating the process here. If you'd like to see this in slow motion, I actually did the leaf green stalk in its own video, and you can see step by step everything that I've done. So right now I'm adding the water pan to each tier, and I first make sure that I can see through the little holes in there. Then I line the holes up with each pocket so that as the water drips through the whole system, the water goes into each pocket before draining into the next tier, where it is captured by the water pan of the next tier, and that process repeats. And as the water goes through the entire green stalk, there's a drain hose that you can add to the bottom of the stalk. Right now, I am just leveling out the tier. So on the bottom of each of these tiers, there are some tongue and groove areas that you just kind of clip together, and they won't feel stable at first, but as you add the growing medium into them, they get heavier and they will hold their shape well. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the bases. There are multiple options for bases. I have 3 different kinds of bases for the green stalks, and the one I like the best is the spinner. It is a little bit more expensive. I think it's around $50, but it allows you to spin the green stalk easily without any effort whatsoever, and it's also on wheels, so you can pull or push the green stalk to a new location as well. The ones that are not spinners, they can be a little heavy and cumbersome to move around. So I do recommend the spinner, but there's 3 options for you. So you can see I am just building the green stalk up tower by tower or tier by tier, filling with soil and then adding the watering pan on top. Again, when you add the water pan, you want to make sure that the holes inside of it line up with the center of your growing pockets. And then I backfill just a little bit around the water pan. You want to make sure that the soil that you're putting in or the growing medium that you're putting in is full on the grow pocket side, but that it goes down at a little bit of an angle towards the center stem that the water pan sits on. Otherwise, your water pan is going to be sitting directly on top of soil, and I have had it clog before, and then the watering mechanism doesn't work and you have to go through and water each pocket, which that's okay too. As long as you can spin your green stalk and get your hose into each pocket, that also works. So I am on the last tier here. So the last step after getting these pockets all filled up is going to be to put the water pan on top. So that's the top layer. And that just clips on kind of the same way that each tier does, but you'll see if you have a green stalk that you just clip them on. So this process in all took me about 2 hours total. Like I said, there were 4 green stalks to put together, and it is a process. All right, so I've put another base on the ground, and I'm actually mixing more ingredients into the bin here. So again, dumping 1 tier at a time into the tote and then adding amendments to it. And when I add the amendments to it, you have to take some time to really mix that together. So you want everything blended well. And then I'm just using a big industrial size scoop, probably a large animal feed scoop. It's made of metal, to transfer the soil from my tote into the green stalk. These 4 green stalks, they're going to hold different things. You can see the green stalk all the way on the left. That's the leaf version. It has most of my lettuce in it. Those were transplants that I did from seed in soil blocks this year. This was my first year trying soil blocks, and it was a real struggle in the beginning. I'm absolutely loving it now, and I'm pleased to say that I have not used one plastic solo cup for my starts this year. That was my goal, and I am halfway through seed starting at this point, and I haven't touched a solo cup, so I'm pleased about that. The rest of these green stalks, they're going to hold different things. So I will use one just for herbs, and you'll see here on the next one that there were some herbs that overwintered. So I did leave those tiers alone. There were 2 tiers. I had some sage overwinter and I had some tarragon overwinter, which I was really surprised about because it gets cold here. I am in zone 6A and in upstate New York, central New York, and it gets really cold in the winter. And I just did not think that those herbs would overwinter. I know they do down in my garden, but they're not very protected in a green stalk or a container. So I was surprised to see that they overwintered. That green stalk will be all herbs when we're done here or after everything gets planted. And then I will have a greens green stalk where I do spinach and I do some kale and some Swiss chard and other types of greens in one. And then I will do 2 with beans or legumes. So I will do bush type beans in one and also some edamame. And that's what I've done for the last couple of years. I think last year I had 1 green stalk where I grew flowers in them. I probably won't do that again because I have a lot of containers I can grow flowers in, and I would rather grow food. As you can see, there are a lot of growing pockets on these. So even if you live in a place where you can't have a garden or you can't have an in-ground garden, you can still grow food. You can still grow quite a bit of food. That green stalk on the left that has lettuce in it, I can grow 84 lettuce plants in 2 square feet of space. So that's pretty good. Well, it is the next day. My bin got full and I needed to be able to dump out that top tier, and there was no room in the bucket to dump it. So I've brought up the empty ones. I have the 5 empty tiers that I left down below in the garden. I brought those up, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to dump this into those 5 tiers, but not to use to plant because I still need to add amendments to it. So I am going to just divvy that up between the 5 empties, dump the last full one right here, and then I'll add the amendments and just continue doing what I did yesterday today to get these planted. It's raining today, and I'm just going to have to push through because I have some things to plant. So in the green stalks, I am going to do some giant noble spinach in its own tier, some Bloomsdale long-standing spinach in its own tier, and then I'm going to do some Olympia and some regiment spinach. These are F1s. These are 5 or 6 years old at this point, so we'll see what we get for germination. And then I need to get some slow bolt cilantro planted as well. And I think that's going to do it for the cold hardy crops, and the rest of the tiers and the pockets will get planted out a little bit later, but we need to get these going. I've got my last base on the ground already. I'm gonna get my gloves on and we're gonna get started. And again, I will put this on a time lapse. Well, I had to take a break the night before. It was getting pretty late and I have dogs who require medication at certain times. So we had to stop and it was raining. I couldn't even see through my glasses anymore. So it is now raining again today and that is making it pretty interesting. It's freezing outside right now. It's probably not. It's probably in the low 40s or high 30s, but with the rain, it is really cold. So I am just continuing on. And as I was saying about the green stalks and what I'm going to be planting in them, or what you can plant in them, is a lot of food. So the leaf tier, you can get 84 plants in there. You can do 2 per pocket depending on what you plant. Not all plants can withstand 2 per pocket, but lettuce certainly can. And then the green beans, which I was talking about on yesterday's end of the video, you can do 2 per pocket in the original tiers as well with green beans. And the original tier has 5 tiers, so 30 pockets, and that means 60 plants per. So with 2 green stalks, I can plant 120 bush type green beans in there. That's a lot of beans. I've got the last tiers separated out here and I dumped what was in the bucket into each. So I brought it up to about 1/3 of the way full, and that allowed me space in my container to dump that full tier out. So I started there and I added amendments to that one and then filled up a tier and just kept building forward from there. And in between, I would spray off the ground. It's, it is raining today and it was making quite a muddy mess as I was having trouble seeing where I was putting my scoops because of just my glasses were just getting wet and I really can't see very well without my glasses. So I had to keep going with that. So here we are almost done with the green stalks. We are going to get them fully put together today so that I can get those seeds planted. And you'll see on this last green stalk that I'm about to put together that I switched up how I was doing it to show you a different way. So I had 1/3 of each of those tiers filled with the old soil, and rather than dump them into the bucket, you'll see on this next green stalk that I'm adding amendments directly to it. So with only 1/3 of the original soil in there, there was plenty of room for me to just add some compost, some peat moss, and some perlite directly into the tier, and then mix it up inside of there. So there we have 5 green stalks in all. We've got the lettuce planted out over here. That was done 5 days ago and it is doing beautifully. And we've got some of the herbs that overwintered. Here we've got the sage that overwintered. So the tarragon overwintered in most of the pockets as well, which I'm thrilled about. So I'll be putting cilantro in here later today. I've got to make tags for it first. You can see it's pretty cold out. And then the spinach in one, but look at the lettuce. This is 5 days after it's been transplanted and it is already taking off. It looks amazing. I am so excited for this. In a couple weeks, we're going to be eating lettuce. So this is the leaf tier. This is the original tier. I think you can see the difference in the size of the pockets. Lettuce doesn't need a lot of depth for the roots, whereas other plants will. And you can also see how tall these green stalks are. They're pretty tall, whereas I am not. I am thrilled to have my green stalks done. That was a lot of work for me, I'm not gonna lie. As I've mentioned before, I have issues with my back and with my hips. So I am tickled that it's over with. I don't even care that I had to finish them in the rain. They are done, they are good for the season. So I'm gonna get making some tags and then I'm just gonna pop some seeds in those pockets and watch them grow. So that's going to do it for us today here at ABC Homestead. My name is Kelly. Really appreciate you stopping by, watching me plant the green stalks. I hope I've offered some inspiration for you to get started on yours. And I hope you come back and visit again soon.